Hi guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make pate au choux. You might have heard about it on your favorite at-home cooking show, or you might have just decided you want to make it because you've had an eclair and it's changed your life. But pate au choux is a very classic French dough, and it's kind of different than a lot of doughs that I've personally had experience making. It's not like a normal type of bread, and it's not really anything like a croissant or any type of pastry like that. It's in its own category. So what I'm going to do is take equal parts milk and water. You're going to want to use whole fat milk if you're using water, or use all non-fat milk instead of milk and water. And I've got some butter in this saucepan. And I'm going to heat this up to a full boil. Then I'm going to add my flour and some salt, and that's going to go back on the stove and actually cook until, the best descriptor I have, until it looks like mashed potatoes. Then it's going to go in my KitchenAid, and I'm going to cool it down a little bit before I start adding my eggs. And you're going to see what this dough looks like. It's really beautiful. Then we're going to take a couple piping bags. I have one here with a little star tip, and that's how we're going to pipe our eclairs. And I've got another piping bag I'm just going to use for round tips to cut some little cream puffs. I'll show you guys how to pipe that. There's a lot you can do with pate au choux, so I really encourage you to try it. And then later on, we're going to fill them and decorate them and top them. It's going to be so much fun. So I hope you join me on this journey. So this butter, milk, and water, this is just gonna go on this stove until, again, it reaches a full boil, and that's what I'm gonna add my flour. And the one thing you just wanna be safe with this guy is just stir occasionally. You really don't want that butter, milk, or any of that to burn. So just make sure you're scraping the bottom of your pan. And then again, medium-low heat is best. You'd rather go a little slow than too aggressively and have to start all over. So this is gonna stay on the stove, I would say at least 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the strength of your stove, until it's going to reach a boil. And then we're going to add in our flour, and you'll see what this dough looks like. It's definitely different than any other type of dough. It's pretty unique. Okay guys, this is getting really close to that full rolling boil. There's some bubbles right here starting to go in the middle. That's what I'm going to want to be really careful, make sure I'm scraping that bottom. Once this gets to that full boil, I'm gonna take it off the heat on this counter really quickly and sift in my flour. You really wanna make sure the flour is sifted so you don't have too many lumps and chunks. And then this is gonna go right back on the heat. All right, every once in a while I just stop stirring to make sure I can check my temperature. Oh, there we go. You can see that nice boil is really going on. Everything is nice and hot. Just gonna let it go just a little longer just to make sure it's hot enough. And then we'll get that flour in there. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so I've got my sifter ready. I'm gonna sift this flour in very quickly. And then, as I stir this in, we're going to go back on the heat. We're going to cook this until it resembles mashed potatoes and a film is starting to form on the bottom of the pan. So, already you can see the texture of this dough is definitely different from a lot that's out there. It shouldn't take too long to start. It's looking pretty mashed potato-y. It's going to lighten slightly in color. And we can see a small film is starting to form on the bottom of this pan. I'm just going to keep going just to make sure I get all of this dough touching that heating element. Oh yeah, okay, we're getting that film. Hope you guys can see that's this film on the bottom of the pan there. That's when we know our pate au choux is ready to transfer to the mixer. All right, this pate au choux is ready to get in the mixer bowl. So, came out a nice one clump. So I'm gonna put this on the mixer because it's still quite warm right now to the touch. And I'm just gonna get this going on like a medium to low speed, just really to cool it down. We really don't wanna start to cook our eggs until they get in the oven. So this guy's just gonna be on the mixer for a few minutes. As you can see, the steam's coming off of it, and we just wanna cool it down before we do anything else. So I'm gonna let that sit for a moment, get some stuff cleaned up, and we'll come right back and keep making this pate au choux. Okay guys, so this dough has been on the mixer for about 5 minutes. It's definitely cool to the touch. So I'm gonna start adding in these eggs really slowly. Woo. Now this dough is quite a bit of eggs, and I wanna let them really mix in before I add the next one. You're gonna see the dough change in texture quite a bit. And there's a lot of eggs in this, so be prepared. As you go, you can start adding some eggs faster, but then you're just gonna see this dough start to change and you're gonna need to slow down a little bit. Once all these eggs are added, I'm gonna keep mixing this dough until it forms the correct shape after I stop. And I'm gonna show you what that looks like. It sounds crazy, but we want this dough, when we stick our glove in it or the paddle from your mixer, you want it to come off on your hand like a V and not a W. I know that sounds weird, but I'm gonna show you exactly what I mean. The more eggs this dough gets in, it really does start to change and look very beautiful. After I add the last bit here, I'm gonna stop and scrape my mixer. And we're just gonna keep this going until, like I said, I'm gonna show you what it looks like when it's correct. You really don't have to stop and scrape until you add all those eggs in. You just wanna make sure that we're getting everything mixed in there. And we'll check this guy to see what he's like. So I want to show you what that dough looks like when it's correct and when it's incorrect, so you know what you're going for. So if I stick my hand in this dough, or sometimes it's just the paddle. Oh, it's falling off in a V. Looking pretty close. We might not have to whip this for much longer. Another good check is that paddle. It's not quite a V. We're gonna keep going a little longer until it looks a little bit better and nice and smooth. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like when it's perfect, and you're always gonna have a perfect pate au choux. All right guys, this pate au choux has been on the mixer for about 5 minutes, maybe a little more. I'm gonna check it and see what the texture is like. It's lightened up a bit. It's definitely smoothed out quite a bit in texture. You're gonna see something different as it goes. And yeah, we're looking pretty good. I'm gonna keep it going for just a couple more minutes. And as I do that, I'm gonna let you know what we're gonna need for baking. So I've got 2 cookie sheets lined with parchment paper ready to go. I'm going to pipe cream puffs first and then some eclairs, so you guys can check out the difference there. We're gonna put them in the oven at 425 for about 10 minutes, and then we're gonna lower the temperature to 375 and finish them off baking until they're nice and golden brown. So this dough is really, really great and multifaceted. There's a lot of fun things you can do to it once you know how to make it. The technique is important to learn to get it down pat, but once you do, you're gonna be really excited with the results.